Hey Jennifer, we're going to take a look at your week 2 assignment 2 drawing, and we're also going to take a look at your assignment 3 since they're so very related to each other. Just taking a look at the first two very quickly here. They're both very good drawings, and both I think do exactly what they need to be doing for their particular particular part of the assignment. The value study I think gives us a very clear understanding of kind of the light source, which feels like it's coming from this direction and very much kind of towards the front. Good value range in place overall, and some good kind of placement and arrangement of the objects. I think a couple kind of very minor things, they're sort of perspective related. I'd like to see the cubes being rendered with a little bit more perspective in mind. They feel very isometric, so they don't feel like they're necessarily receding as they move back into space, although their angles feel like they're correct, but they don't actually kind of recede. Like one of these angles should be moving towards a specific kind of vanishing point, but they all feel like they're kind of parallel to each other. They don't actually get closer towards each other as they move off into the distance, and that's the same case for the cube that's over here. It just feels like they're parallel lines, and they should be all kind of converging. At least these top plane angles should be converging towards a specific vanishing point. And I think the cone could use just a little bit more of a rounded bottom. For being the lowest element within the composition, being the furthest away from the horizon line, which I would assume would be somewhere up here since we can see the tops of everything. This should be, I think, probably about where your shadow is down here. That could actually be the bottom edge of the cone. Shading is excellent though. There's some great transitions in place, great highlights in place, good shadows, good cast shadows, and the marker technique is excellent. It's smooth, very consistent, very even. Texturally, I do think that things feel better with the texture applied, because I think they tend to take away from some of the more kind of obvious kind of issues that occur. I think especially with people who have value issues, the texture really helps out, because it just tends to make people feel like they have more well-rounded elements to work with when they have the texture applied. Since this was so solid, I think that the texture just kind of makes everything feel even more visually interesting. The stone texture for me is the one that just I really kind of get drawn to over and over again, although the wood textures are very good. I really like this stone texture. It feels very understated but very effective, very accurate in terms of a kind of a marbleized I guess marble. But the wood texture is very good, great grain, good way of kind of changing it as it moves from one plane to the other. The woven texture, the other stone and the metal also kind of rounding things out nicely. The color application I think is it's both good, but I could also see a little bit more work being put into them. I think the stone here and the two woods are very good. I think the metallic texture, we could actually see a little bit more color being applied to it, especially some of the colors that are working within its actual environment. So pulling a little bit of some of the oranges in place and putting them down here, maybe not that obviously that kind of dark, but getting a little bit of the oranges in place here, getting a little bit of the greens and having some of those occur within the top kind of plane, or the top part of the cylinder. Sorry, that's just like not happening for me. Or even kind of putting in a few streaks of kind of the green to help kind of make it feel like that part of the environment is actually occurring within the reflection. I think a little bit more color application within the sphere at the bottom. If it's a stone texture, I think getting just a few more natural colors in place, some of those beiges that we saw in kind of the very first assignment that you did for the week, can help to kind of round things out. But the color application is good. It definitely does not take away from the textures in any way, and I think in a lot of cases, especially the wood, it just kind of reinforces the texture that you've made with the line work and with the value stuff. It just makes it work even better than it does already. The background's being applied well. It's not overstated, and it just kind of fits in nicely. It still has some of those perspective issues, but there's nothing you can do about it since you didn't get feedback from it until now. But good, solid job.